Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is one of the most famous statesmen to come out of the African continent. His own personal life story reads like a thriller novel. We reached out to him for advice on how to apply some of those hard-earned lessons to the crisis that we're currently facing.
Morning.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, sir.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it's good afternoon on your part. At your place, it's still 5 minutes past 11 here. Good morning.
How is it over there? Are you warm and safe?
No, it's nice and warm.
Good. That's amazing. And what does a former president focus all his time on during the lockdown?
Oh yeah. Well, as I keep saying to people here, we are locked down, but we are not locked out. So we thank God for that. The economy has also gone down since our oil. We budgeted for this year on $57 per barrel of oil, and the price we are selling today hovers around 20, price of everything. So we have to look at this and say, well, what can we do? How can we prepare for the worst? And what can the worst be? The worst is that we will all be poorer. People will lose jobs. Those jobs will not be available for maybe the next 12, 18, 24 months.
Sure.
What can be palliative, effective palliative? What are the low-hanging fruits that people can pluck? And these are the sort of things that we are looking at.
It's certainly not something that I'm used to. None of my contemporaries understand the situation, and it just has no context. But I wanted to, first of all, sir, I wanted to congratulate you on the book. I think it's a really fascinating read, and certainly something that gives us a long-term view on planning and going forward and adopting models and integrating lessons from around the world. So I hope that's a good conversation for you, sir.
That's very good. That's very good. Let's start from where we are and move to where we want to be.
Sure.
And where we are today is the coronavirus. It's with us. It's an unusual. People said that only about 100 years ago we had something like this they call Spanish flu, which was global. We have had virus epidemics at different times, but it has not been as global as this. We had Ebola in this part of the world, in West Africa, but it's even limited to 3 countries mainly: Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea-Conakry. But we have this coronavirus that started from China and it's moved around the world. So we are in an unusual time, and then we have to look for unusual solutions to deal with the unusual situation.
And I think, you yourself, I've been reading quite a bit about you during the week, and of course I've been reading the book, and you've been through hard times in your own journey. And just taking, for example, being imprisoned for a few years, you've had challenges personally. And do you have any kind of takeouts or any lessons from the really, really difficult times? Personally, I've been chatting to entrepreneurs whose businesses are failing, to leaders within this country and South Africa whose businesses are failing, and they're up against it. What message can you take from your personal experience and share with us, sir?
Thank you very much. Let me start from my upbringing. I was born and bred in a village. And so I'm a typical village boy. And every other thing that has happened to me in life, other than the village life, I regard as an accident. The only thing that is really not an accident to me is the circumstances of my birth and my upbringing and how I grew up. Within 5 days of independence, after 1st of October 1960, I was part of the advance party to go to the Congo. Nigeria was the first peacekeeping, large peacekeeping of the UN was in the Congo in 1960. So I went in daytime to do a reconnaissance, to do the evacuation at night. Then I was arrested by the Congolese soldiers. They put me in the boot of the car, but there was a cement factory nearby, which had telephone. So they took me to the cement factory and phoned their headquarters in Bukavu. And I was a bit popular among the Congolese soldiers for two things. I never drank nor smoked, but I always had cigarette in my pocket to offer to those who will smoke and drinks in my room. Again,
you would be very popular in South Africa right now because we're not allowed to drink or smoke.
I was very popular in the Congo then, my dear. And they called me Letna Oba. So they phoned and said, look, they have a man here, Letna Oba. Should they kill him? And they say, Letna Oba, in the headquarters in Bukavu, Letna Oba. Now then bring him here, if it's Letna Oba. And they came and opened me in the boot and said, look, are you really Letna Oba? I said, yes. So they took me out of the boot and put me inside the car and drove me to about.
Were you scared at all? I mean, were you worried that you were not going to survive at that point?
I must confess to you, survival was not in my mind. I don't know, because I didn't have any fear. Okay. I don't know whether it is foolhardy, stupidity, or grace of God. But survival was
or confidence that you had cigarettes and booze.
And I believe that, and I still believe that till today, that the military is not supposed to be in power. The training of the military is meant to defend the territorial integrity and of its country, and to make peace and security possible within the country. So I said that, and then of course, Abacha thought that I have been talking too much, and I was arrested. Having become head of state, and having done that to the best of my ability and all that, and I was going around the world and meeting leaders of the world, Helmut Schmidt, Jim Callahan, Pierre Trudeau, and then, of course, I was a member of eminent persons group of the Commonwealth for the situation in South Africa. I met my brother Madiba in Portsmouth prison and all that. Now, with all that, and now you say I am a coup plotter and I have to die. My international friends stood strong. These people that I've mentioned, they all rally around. I didn't know. President Carter, with whom I have worked when we were in government, particularly on the issue of South Africa, issue of development and all that, came to Nigeria. So eventually, I was sentenced to 30 years imprisonment. I would have been sentenced to jail, but for the intervention of my international friends. There's no doubt about that. And then I was in jail. Well, what could I do? My late wife was going around the world, and she really was a jewel. She really did. When she died, I wept. I wept because of what she had done for me, and because we have become not just husband and wife, but brother and sister and friends. And when Abacha died, Absalami, who took over from Abacha within a week, released me from prison. And that was really...
Did you have any idea at any point that what was going on behind the scenes? I mean, that people were fighting for you, that they were lobbying for you?
Yeah, I knew that people were fighting, but I didn't know the detail.
I'm hearing you say you have been through such a hard time in so many different circumstances. You've been challenged in terms of your upbringing. You know, you've been challenged in terms of the workplace, and you've been challenged in terms of macro circumstances, micro circumstances. You've been subjected to such incredible hardships, and a lot of the things that happen are out of our control, right? So it's more about not what happens and dwelling upon what happens, but about how you respond to those circumstances.
I tell you, when I was first arrested, I thought they made a mistake. And I said, oh, look, I haven't done anything wrong. They would know that they have made a mistake and they will correct themselves. 3 majors came. Well, they are lawyers in the army. Majors, of course, I retired as a 4-star general. So these are boys who probably haven't joined the army by the time I retire. So they came and said that, well, they want to read to me my offense, treason. And they read it and said, and it's punishable by death.
How did you feel when you heard that?
I became really, really closer to God. And when Abacha's son died, I wrote him a letter of condolence. The prison authorities couldn't believe it. They said, what? The man who put you in prison? I said, well, he put me in prison. He has done his worst. But God is here to do his best. God gave me the grace, I call it the grace, to be able to move from bitterness of heart to love, to understanding, to prayer. And I think that was really what did it for me. Even in the prison, I was going around the prison compound one day, I saw a patch of land, a bit sandy and all that. I told the prison authority, I said, look, can I farm here? I said, farm? Nobody, we have never had a prisoner who wanted to farm. I said, well, look, I will want to farm. I said, okay. The only thing is that the cutlass and the hoe that I will use to farm, I cannot keep it in myself. They're afraid that I may use it to commit suicide. Stupid people. How can I commit suicide? So, and then they give it to me, and I became a farmer, even in prison. Not only was I using my mind and my head, I was also using my hand. I was using my hands. And a friend of mine, still alive, Ahmed Jordan, he lived in Yola where the prison was, and they wouldn't allow him to come and see me. Only my wife was allowed to see me. When the day I sent a message to him that, look, I'm trying to grow maize in the prison. I need fertilizer. He said it was one of the happiest days because he was getting worried about my isolation, about people not being allowed to see me, that I may go into depression, I may become insane and all that, I might lose my faculties and all that. And he said when he got the request from me that I needed fertilizer to grow maize, he said, well, no, this man must be of sound mind. If he knows that he needs fertilizer.
I hear you, sir.
But, then, and of course, later. But,
and you wrote 5 books. That's, I mean, that is quite something in 3.5 years. That is extremely productive in amongst farming and negotiating with your prison warders and and negotiating with your fellow prisoners. I mean, that's a.
I became, you know, one of the things that happened when I was in prison, the maximum prison in Lagos, they call it Kirikiri. Some white garment people, Christians, went there and they took extra white garment, they hid it, and in their coming out, some prisoners came out with them. As a result of that, they prevented any pastor, any imam coming to the prison, in all prisons in Nigeria. At that time, I became more or less the pastor of the Yola prison. And one of the books that I wrote is what I call Sermons from the Prison. One of which are the sermons that I gave.
The sermons that you gave to the fellow prisoners. That's amazing. So if we look at the situation at the moment, and I mean, I work with a community of entrepreneurs in varying different circumstances, some who are very poor, some who are, you know, really struggling, and others who are, you know, have done really well for themselves. Everyone is being impacted by, you know, external challenges right now. And what I'm hearing you say is you were afflicted by these circumstances that were beyond your control, yet you got involved with, you know, using your mind through writing. You got involved with using your heart through, you know, communicating these sermons to your fellow prisoners, and you got involved with your hands in terms of farming and making something from the soil. What I'm seeing with my community members is that there's a very distinct polarization, in that some people are frozen and they're sitting waiting for things to happen. And then other people are responding by, you know, using their hands and trying to make something out of it. And I think there's such a huge lesson in that it is not about waiting for the crisis to pass by. You know, it's about understanding that you can't control it, but we can choose to respond to it, and to move forward proactively using whatever opportunities that we have, right? And so I'm very inspired by your story. I mean, I think looking forward and looking at where
you really got it right. Now, somebody was talking to me earlier on today about uncertainty. And I say, look, the totality of life is uncertainty. There's nothing that is certain about life except death. That's the only thing that is certain about life. You plan, and if you are lucky, your plan goes according to how you have planned it. But what is important is how you can grow after an event, how you can act to make the best out of it.
Hello, 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 hello. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is one of the most famous statesmen to come out of the African continent. His own personal life story reads like Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo is one of the most famous statesmen to come out of the African continent. His own personal life story reads like a thriller novel. We reached out to him for advice on how to apply some of those hard-earned lessons to the crisis that we're currently facing.